Okay, welcome.
Yes, good evening and welcome to the new season of the Poetry Playhouse Open Mics. It's a monthly series, usually the last Tuesday of the month. We pushed it forward by a week this month because of Halloween. And we've been doing these for 3 years, over 3 years, and all the recordings are available on the Jules Nyquist YouTube channel. So and that's also linked from our Jules Poetry Playhouse website. So take a look if you want. We're doing something a little bit different this year. We are going to feature, every month, we're going to feature a different New Mexico press or anthology. So so I think that will help to highlight how much talent we have in this state. Also, of course, then there will always be the second hour of your open mic readings, and we've been fortunate to have people from throughout the United States and from a number of other countries. So tonight, Up from the Ashes We Rise, beautiful cover illustration there, and by Paula Lopez. And this is an anthology that comes out of Las Vegas, New Mexico, in the hills northeast of us. And it is, and there are approximately 40 poets or writers who are dealing in this volume with the aftermath of the terrible fires that occurred in spring and summer of 2022 in northern New Mexico and southern Colorado, especially the Hermit Peak Calf's Canyon fire, one of the most devastating. And of course, then there were floods in the burn scar zones after that. So so this is an anthology that I hope you'll pick up and support. Jules will put the information about that in the chat, and it's from the Las Vegas Lit Press, and we have several editors and contributors to the volume. And I'd like to, if I could, start with a little bit of a discussion with Sharon, Vander, Meer, and Rose. You don't have to highlight speakers, Jules. I'm just trying to get everybody on the same page here. Rosemary Capsh were editors. I know Kayt Peck has been involved, and others here have been involved with the press. I wanted to start just by asking a little bit about Las Vegas Lit. As I understand, it's connected to a poetry series in Las Vegas. Anybody want to talk about that?
Las Vegas Lit is actually an organization that supports the work of writers, whether it's poetry or other types of writing, essays, nonfiction, anything that people want to do. We just formed 4 writing groups. That's the diversity of kind of writing that we cover, so that people who want to be in a writing support group, if you will, can choose one of these groups to be in. Las Vegas Lit is pretty much of a wide open organization in terms of what we are trying to do, and that is to encourage writers, because sometimes if you're not published, you don't write as much as you could or should or want to. We have actually, previous to this anthology, we published a book called Tapestry, and it was a series of fiction, nonfiction, and poetry, an anthology of fiction, nonfiction, and poetry. So the box is a little bit bigger than poetry alone. We have other things that we're doing.
Yeah. Thanks. It sounds a little like in Albuquerque, the Southwest Writers, what they do, which is
Mhm.
a lot of different genres.
Well, and we're a little more regional and
Oh, yes.
hometown,
Yeah,
homegrown.
hometown, yeah, yeah. It's terrific to have a local organization, especially. How long has Las Vegas Lit been in operation, or when did?
We actually started at the very beginning of the pandemic. We didn't intend for it to start then, but that's when the core group got together and started to put on events and activities to encourage writing. And so that was whenever the pandemic started, and we did most of what we did on Zoom. And since then, we've been able to do a number of other projects live, mostly open mics. We also encourage and support the work of one of the local high schools that have a youth writing group that is staggeringly good. They're very, very good. And most of what they do is poetry. So I think we kind of, I don't know, Mary Rose and Bob, what would you say that we're sort of a cheerleaders for writers?
I'd say that, yes. And we have we've had a number of writers as our speakers, and they speak for about a half an hour, read their own work, and then after that we open up to an open mic. I do want to point out that as far as editing Up from the Ashes, that's all Sharon. She did an absolutely fantastic job. I think David helped you with it, but I didn't have any part in that. I helped with
Thank you.
tapestry, but Sharon is very, very good at editing. Just a little sidelight here. Bob and I won't be reading tonight. We were both contributors, but we just realized that on a recent road trip, we gave away all of our books.
Oh, no.
We had 12 books, and when we came home, we had 0. So we won't be reading tonight.
Sorry about that.
That's terrific that you were able to get those books out into the world. That's great.
I wanted to make sure that everyone, in terms of getting the books, they're available online through our website and on Amazon, and locally in Las Vegas, we have them at several stores, but we have not been about the business of distributing them to other markets simply because we're few in number and it's hard to get out there and get that done. But they are available readily on our website and through Amazon.
Great.
And I want to thank you also before we move on. This is a wonderful opportunity to talk about something that is near and dear to all of us because so many of us live through it. Kayt is someone who actually lost her home in the fire, and her beautiful poetry is heartbreakingly touching and makes us all realize what
it's called instant.
Go ahead.
Yeah. It's called instant downsizing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But she's the premier poet laureate of Las Vegas. She just got off of her 2-year term, but she's an amazing poet. Beyond what she did here, her work is just really something for her to be proud of, and for us as her associates to want to promote and help her with.
Yeah. Both wonderful. I also wanted to mention. I also wanted to thank Bill Nevins from up in Angel Fire, who called the anthology to our attention and said, "Hey, you guys should feature."
Yes, I've told Bill that we ought to have him on our publicity team because he has done a great job promoting the book, and we really appreciate him for that. It's really been a gift. And then, so do you want us just to kind of jump right in here? Because I'm trying to we have Caylee is in the book. Is it Deb Coy? I'm sorry.
Yeah, Deb Coy. Yeah.
Yeah. and Bill, of course, and myself, Kate. And I don't think there's anyone else from our group that is that is here
Kathamann is,
today.
well, she's in the book anyway.
And
Who's this?
oh,
You're
Kathamann.
muted
Yeah,
again.
John and Sharon, I will, since we're recording, I will spotlight you when you read, and then I'll just have the one person on
Yeah.
there. But
Yeah.
Okay, but very quickly, I want to make sure and note the cover, as was pointed out earlier. This photograph is, this artwork is by Paula Lopez, and it so much reflects the heart of this book and the amazing power of what this book says about the resiliency of people who went through a very difficult time and still were able to spend time to sit down and write about it and share it with all of us. And so I'd like to begin, if you don't mind, with just reading. It's the foreword written by Elmo Baca, who is a prominent businessman here in Las Vegas and is also the president of the Las Vegas, New Mexico Foundation, and is a gifted writer himself. But this kind of sets the stage for what we all ended up facing during a very difficult time.
Go ahead.
April 2022. On Wednesday, April 6th, my close friend Martine Ledger and I left Las Vegas early in the morning, headed for Taos to catch the last days of the season at Taos Ski Valley. As we headed north on our way to Sapio and Mora, we noticed a low haze on the horizon, what looked like drifting smoke. Martine, being a former firefighter, said, "Must be a prescribed burn. Looks like it's blowing out. It's blowing east." We got to the ski valley where we owned the mountain for 2 days. Hardly anyone up there as the spring sunshine kissed the slopes. We had a nice dinner at Martyr's restaurant that night, dodged the orange construction barrels on Paseo de Pueblo Sur, and ventured back up home on the familiar and stunning road through Tres Ritos the next afternoon. As nightfall descended on Thursday, we witnessed an incredible sight never before seen in our lifetimes. Hermit's Peak glowing orange in the twilight, as if reflecting the light of a massive campfire, which of course it was. The Hermit's Peak and Calf Canyon fires consumed more than 350,000 acres and destroyed over 1,000 structures in San Miguel and Mora counties. But thank God we suffered no human casualties. Dear friends of ours have lost their homes. Pandaray Golf Course, resort and village, was nearly destroyed. On Friday night, April 22nd, the flames almost torched the former Montezuma Hotel, New Mexico's first great resort destination, built in 1882. Hundreds of United World College students, staff, and faculty were quickly moved to the Glorieta Conference Center. Panic and hysteria struck Las Vegas on Friday night, the 22nd, as we could see the fire topping the Crestone north of us, just 5 miles away. The sky turned surreal colors of gray and umber and orange and crimson, and rained ash on our streets and cars and houses. The countryside that has been scorched in this inferno includes sacred cultural landscapes and a distinctive granite mountain where an Italian hermit and holy man lived in a cave for 12 years after 1867. Legendary, I'm sorry, I get a little emotional, guys. Let me take a minute.
Take your time.
Legendary dude ranches, which flourished in Gallinas Canyon when New Mexico became a state, the Shangri-La Pandaray Valley, that Frank Waters wrote about in his 1941 book, People of the Valley, all felt nature's fiery wrath. April 2023. The winter of 2023 in San Miguel and Moore County stretched on raw and bitter. If not on the charred landscape, then certainly in the hearts and memories of those survivors who had endured a hellish year since the smoke first dusted the horizon a year before. A warm Easter weekend finally broke the chilly spell, and a generous snowpack in the Sangres offered some hope mixed with anxiety of what the sacred arroyos, streams, and ditches would yield with the thaws. Small armies of federal and state agents have replaced the scrub oak and fir trees in the daily perceptions of some of the burn-scarred residents, along with the swarms of lawyers, insurance adjusters, and contractors seeking their share of the claims windfall. A disaster zone is a peculiar form of industry. The distinctive geography of the blackened landscape persists in the memory as a tapestry of hidden evergreen canyons and valleys, and pastures peppered with rustic homesteads, worthy of ballads and rancheros. Rosiata, Gascon, Panderay, Mineral Hill, all magical real, places in the spirit of Gabriel Garcia Marquez, survive simultaneously in nostalgic, nostalgic, I'll say it, of the past, the ravaged views of the present and the imagined future recovery. Amidst this profound sorrow, Nuestra Senora de Dolores, the patroness of Las Vegas, is a fitting redeemer. So too, the iconic granite sculpture of Hermit's Peak and its nearby El Porvenir Basin remind us that the land will endure and prosper once again. Of the people, our needs and hopes are more immediate. We wish to be made whole, to return to a more carefree harmony, free of federal bureaucracy, claims forms, and gritty survival. Navigating the daunting labyrinth of FEMA is the new paradigm for municipalities and families, governors and ranchers. Hermanos y hermanas. Mercy, respect, generosity, love, and camaraderie are the new spring wildflowers we welcome this season, along with the inspired verses in this volume. Rising from the ashes, with 12 full moons gone since the orange umber and gray charcoal skies seared our souls, harsh narratives of evacuations, firestorms, and despair are yielding to heartfelt expressions of poetry, song, and art. An inferno is being transformed into a legend and myth. Herein, this collection of written sentiments by burn scar area writers, collected by Las Vegas Lit, unveils the journey to redemption and reconciliation, healing and forgiveness through a forest trail on the way to a renewed homeland.
Thank you, Sharon. Thank you. Yeah, that's sets it out very, very well. I know Kayt Peck needs to leave fairly soon, so maybe we could have her on next, if that's okay. Mm-hmm. You can unmute.
Unmute, Kayt. There you go.
I appreciate that, and I want to apologize to everybody. As a volunteer, I'm the executive director of Nat Gold Players, the community theater, and we are building a haunted house tonight. So I have to get back to that, but I appreciate letting me read first. Is it okay? There was one of the poems that I wrote for an event as poet laureate that didn't make in the book. And with your permission, I'd like to read that one, if I may.
Sure.
Of course.
It's called Love Thy Neighbor. I saw it on a dark night, bereft of light, except for a red glow of fire in the distance, the fire that also made a dark night, bereft of hope, yet hope would come. Love thy neighbor. Words spoken 1,000,000 times from pulpits are read from leather-bound books, letters printed in red. Love thy neighbor. An unused school, open just to provide a roof, a place out of the dark, out of the night, a place for those banished from their homes, waiting to learn if the exile would be temporary or permanent. Love thy neighbor. Immediately they came, pickup loads with pallets of water, food selected for those with no place to cook, clothes, toothpaste, diapers, for goodness sake, a plethora of items saying more than words ever could. Love thy neighbor. Those tasked with the organization, not yet there, a handful of women standing in a circle, some strangers to each other, there for their neighbors. Within an hour, they converted chaos to order. Cots for those with no bed, food for those with hunger, words of comfort for those frightened, a system for gathering names and phone numbers. Love thy neighbor. Neighbors helping neighbors. I heard a voice in the dark, a desperate voice. Stepping outside, I saw a man in a wheelchair, desperately calling for a frightened puppy, cowering beneath his truck. The man shivered in the cold, fighting tears of fear and frustration. Others heard as well. A blanket placed around his shoulders, a team formed with no instruction, each member lying on the ground surrounding the vehicle. Dragged by the scruff of his neck, the puppy screamed in fear, a fear that ended when he was placed in the arms of the man who loved him. Love thy neighbor. It did not end that night, nor the next week, nor the next month, nor the next year. Love thy neighbor. Some neighbors worked full-time, no pay, collecting information and donated goods, distributing what was needed. Organizations formed to plan the healing, to help rebuild homes and communities, to fill the gaps of a disaster response system broken or ill-fitting for so many. Homes lost, communities damaged. A year later, still so many waiting. Of all that was lost, one jewel shone brightly, polished to a glorious brilliance. We norteños, no matter our skin color, have proven that we know how to live the truth of love thy neighbor. I did the one. I don't know if you want multiple poems or not. I haven't.
Thank you,
Yeah.
Kate. That's very moving. Thank you.
Very moving, but if you want to read another poem or two, you could.
There's one that I get requested a lot that's in the book that I wrote the day after my house burned down. If that would be okay. You think that's a good one, Sharon? It's called Memories Don't Burn. Actually, a company that's doing a documentary about the fire asked me to read it beside the remains of my house. So if you go on YouTube and search for Memories Don't Burn, you can see that video. I see it clearly in my mind's eye. My mother's music box, faded green with a patina of age. The music played sometimes erratic. The price of time on metal fingers. Lovely. Then the flames, also seen by my mind's eye, imagination of a horrid reality. I wonder when it melted, when the music was silenced forever. Did it happen when the whole house lost the battle, collapsing into ashes? Did it happen earlier, a precursor to the full disaster? The memory did not burn. Not of the music box, nor my mother's gentle smile. The wildfire could not rob me of that. Memories don't burn. Not even the memory of my father's surprise, a leather shop visit to a saddle handmade for me. Flames took the saddle, not the memory. I feared it would take my neighbors, those who stayed, people I love. But for discretion being the better part of valor in evacuation, he could have taken me. It could take the deer that greeted me at the kitchen window on a bright spring morning. It could take the turkey named Randy, who gave me hours of laughter, but memories don't burn. To rebuild, to grasp from the jaws of despair, to create more memories in a new life, to continue to grow the treasure of experience and love. A wise choice, because memories don't burn.
Thank you, Kayt. They're quite powerful. Thank you. Yeah.
Thank you for the chance to read. I appreciate you doing this.
Welcome. We're very thankful that you read for us. Sharon, who would you like to go next?
If I could, I've lost, Bill Nevins. He has a couple of really wonderful poems that, well, I think he has more than two. You have three in the book, Bill?
I've actually got four, but I
Okay.
Well, you can read 2 or 3 for us, Bill.
Would you like me to read?
Read for us.
Yeah.
I take requests. That was a beautiful reading, Kayt, and thank you so much. And Sharon, thank you for including me in this book.
Bill, you're a little soft, so
Yeah, I can't hear you.
turn
Speak
up
up a
your
little
microphone
bit closer.
Thank
Yeah.
you. Okay.
Is that a little better?
A little better. Yeah, a little better.
Something I can do. Okay.
You're okay. Just so close.
Fine.
Maybe that's better.
Yeah.
Technical. Okay. Well, then I'll read 2 poems. This is on page 100. Wow. Flame and a red right hand. Burn, burn, back, back, burn. Heart heaves, each blood thump in pain. How does a heart beat on when home, hearth, hope are all gone? How does a dead forest speak? How may a proud people weep? Dark ash flowing into veins of this holy ground. When rage will rhyme, a righteous song shall be sung from Mora to Washington. Sleeping Nuevo Mexico wakes y Aslan se agira una vez más. To the rebel roar once more, un grito feroz. Grief, as candles burn in charred chapel ruins, a blood flame lights these mountains. Move more than thoughts, prayers, empty promises of relief, and tedious FEMA waiting queues. These lands, these gente, shall be made whole. Once more, as Corky Gonzalez declared, Yo soy Joaquin, presente. Forgive my Spanish, my accent. Jeannie and I, Jeannie Allen, who's right here with me, Jeannie and Alan and I live, that's her hand, live near the probably the northeastern edge of where the fires came to. So while we were not allowed to go back into our mountain lands and cabin during the fire, it did not burn, and that probably is just good happenstance and the great work of the firefighters that came in to protect it. But right after the fire, we met a lot of people from Mora and other areas who had suffered tremendously. So I was very happy to contribute to this book. Oh, by the way, we should mention that the money beyond the cost of the book, which has been covered now, will be going to build a memorial in Las Vegas, special construction, and probably Sharon can tell us more about that. One more poem. Late November music after the fires of 2022, Sangre de Cristo Mountains, Colfax County, New Mexico. Van Morrison's Madame George is playing on Celtic Crush Radio. They're drying their eyes in the back streets of Belfast as the troubles burn the land. Say goodbye to all that was not, all that could have been better. Life is only weather whirling inside you, fires, floods, wind, rain, and then the sun breaks through. Yeah, it could have been different, but it is what it is. Now, as we roll on to the trill of morning hummingbirds, elk calls, coyotes, or of Bella Fleck's banjo and Jeannie's dancing flute. Gracias.
Thank you, Bill. Thank you. Quite a range there. Thank you. And thanks also for mentioning the memorial. Yeah. Terrific. Okay, who's next?
Carrie Lee, are you?
Okay, Carrie Lee, you may unmute.
Okay, give me a second. I'm trying to find her too.
She was here.
Caylee, Cayle, where are you? I'm trying to, now I got you. I'm just trying to spotlight you. There we go.
Regrettably. Just what's really interesting about this poem is just one day I decided that I needed to go out and go deeper into the forest and see what happened. And I evacuated too. I live in town. But my biggest concern about the fire was all the little villages and all the little towns and people that have been there for generations and probably wouldn't have insurance. It broke my heart to the reason I moved to Las Vegas a month before the fire. And I've lost my home in a fire before. So it was pretty interesting welcoming to town. But I wrote this poem when I was out on the road traveling through the hills and stuff for a few hours, and then I rewrote it like 2 weeks later, and I was like, I like this poem. Maybe I should see if I could get it in the paper or something, because I've had other published poems. And 2 days later, I got the invitation to send in a piece to Las Vegas Lit. So I felt very blessed that Spirit sent that to me and sent me the poem too. So Scars, the Fire 2022. Scars stretched across the face of land and hearts, heritage lost in moments of sacrifice, ancestors crying tears down adobe walls of demise, pictures, memories, vistas of beauty devastated, memories only left to keep the land sacred, hearths, chimneys, standing tall, so alone, singed hearts, no longer gathered at home, the land's heritage left to Gaia to restore. Thank you.
Thank
Yeah,
you,
thank
Carly.
you. Yeah, wonderful. Thank you. And who else would like to read?
Deborah, you had
Yeah. And
Deborah Coy.
yeah, Deb spends part of the year up near El Rito. She can tell you about that. Deb, you may unmute. You're still muted. Still muted. Oh,
There I am.
okay. There.
Hi, everyone. We didn't have a we weren't part of the Hermit's Peak fire. We were west of you guys at the midnight fire. It only took about 2,000 acres, but it was pretty devastating. We were lucky that the airplane came over and dumped a bunch of fire retardant on our cabin, and we saved that. But we lost a lot of trees and so forth. So I've got some short poems to read. The first one's called Midnight Fire. The outdoor kitchen gone, the oak grove, sticks and burned leaves, our neighbor's barn a ruin, wheelbarrows without wheels, just when we need them. Rain has washed everything to where it shouldn't be. The trees' black blood colors everything. Weeks ago it was paradise, now nor after the fire. And then when we weren't there when it happened, but when we got home back here, that we're here right now, by the way. When we got back, the floor of our house was covered with about 4 inches of mud. And I wrote this one called Rain Falling. Bank and channel, I breathe a river, drowned door opening, rain again. Eden's open bar, muggy, sloppy, a huge gloom that descends. In a deluge, dripping, soaking the burn scar, saturating storm hits hard, not soon stopping. Open door, take note of torrents, crack an omen in a deluge rampant. The soak damaged our land, while dry land is languishing, a legacy of the times, fires and floods. As in all questions, would we stop as we ought? And then what would happen? And if you don't mind, I have a pantoum that I wrote after the book was published that deals with the subject.
Okay, yeah.
Okay, it's called The Seasons of Burned Trees. Halloween trees, fire flashed through your domain. Your skeletal remains shiver silently the night. Fire flashing through your domain, you next to the gate that survived, scorched silently that night. Wind, the fire's companion. You next to the gate that survived, foil gravity for another season. Wind, the fire's companion, will soon fling you down. Foil gravity for another season and stretch those blackened limbs. Soon wind will fling you down. Until then, greet the night. Stretch those blackened limbs lit by stars that make Christmas. Until then, greet the night and welcome me when I return. Lit by stars that make Christmas, I celebrate your seasons. Welcome me when I return, Halloween trees.
Wow,
Thank you, Deb.
very
And,
nice.
Thank
Yeah,
you all. And for those of you who lost your homes, I am so sorry.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah. And I
But-
know you've had your more than one brush with fire up where you are. Yeah.
Yeah.
Completely
Uh,
surrounded by national
Oh,
forest.
yes,
Beautiful,
yes.
beautiful spot, beautiful spot. So let's.
Is there any, I'm sorry, just very quickly, is there anyone else from the anthology
Yeah.
that's here that I'm not aware of?
I was just going to ask
Yes,
that.
Kathamann.
Oh,
Kathamann.
Kathamann, okay.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I saw the name on the, but I had not met this person, so I did not know who this
Yes,
person
Kathamann is
was.
welcome, Kathamann.
I am
is an
so pleased to be in this anthology with all of you survivors. Thank you very much.
And Kathamann's a noted artist as well as poet from Santa
I
Fe.
love that
Yeah.
beautiful background there.
Thank you. The hidden heart of fire, bonfire, campfire, forest fire. The burning times of old Europe as thousands of women were put to the flame. Fireworks, fireplace, fire escape. Hungry yet unyielding torches of Charlottesville flame the dragon. Fire, the first magic. We fight fire with fire. We put our hearts to the flames.
Thank you.
Beautiful.
you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I
This is-
yeah.
Can
I was wondering if I could. Yeah.
I have the
what's that?
second one. It's a
Oh,
short
go
one.
right ahead. Yeah. sure.
Without
Go right
fire.
ahead.
When the fire goes out, the blitzkrieg ends. Smoke and ash cover the land. Coldness, darkness, the terror of life without light, without fire. Who has a match for this time? Thank you.
Thank you, Kathamann. Thank you. I was wondering if I could read a short poem on page 118 by Albuquerque poet Scott Wigerman called What Survives.
Sure.
The outhouse burned, fence posts lit up like flares, but prayers and hoses spared our home, thank God, while all around the fire seethed in a dare. We reeked like smokers, silent and slack-jawed, our lot, our lives in cinders. Verdant trees became scorched matchsticks, tall and blistered stakes. We'd seen a forest after fires, but these were our piñons and ponderosas. Sakes alive, a pine with our initials gone. Days later, buttons reappeared, our cat unheard. We tried to praise our luck, though dawn would bring the empty trees, that habitat of black, and then a tinge of green from ash, a seedling. Hope emerged, a minute splash.
Very nice.
Yeah.
I wanted to read just a couple from someone else in the book and then one of mine, and it won't
Yeah.
take very long because they're
That's
all
great.
short.
Good. We still have like 10 minutes or so. So yeah.
This is A Dark Day by Esperanza Dimas. 3 knocks on the door. I was told to leave my home. That fire in the distance, they said I was now in the red zone. How could that be? It was miles away. I looked out the window and what was once blue skies had turned to gray. Grabbing my emergency bag I had packed the day before, I looked at my house one more time before I shut my door. Smoke filled the sky like a dark, scary cloud. Evacuation centers and motels were straining to crowd. That night I got up, I got on my knees and prayed. I couldn't fall asleep. I was too afraid. Afraid to lose my home, the pictures of my wife. Afraid to lose my cars, my truck, my entire life. I sat in fear and frustration week after week until the blaze finally reached its final peak. Going back to nothing was what devastated me most. My land was black and my house was a ghost. As a community, they helped me cope. I felt defeated and deflated, but there was still hope. I rose from the ashes of disaster and despair with help from the government, my family, and prayer. The fire has changed my life dramatically, I'd say, but I will continue to build day by day. And this is entitled Today by Esperanza Dimas. Today the birds are singing again and the sky no longer cries. Today the fire is extinguished. Out of the ashes we will rise. Rise above the disaster, above all the downfall, like a tree that stood its ground, or like a strong, sturdy wall. Today the seed is gently stitched back to Mother Earth. The flowers bloom there, planting fumes. It's a miracle rebirth. Today, we will start to rejoice, rebuild and regrow. We will regenerate and recreate a beautiful tomorrow. And that represents the just tenacity and deeply rooted spirit of this people of the North who endured so much and yet are just plodding on with joy, not plodding, parading on with joy. Okay, and this is the last one I'm going to read. This is The Measure by Sharon Vander. Treasure is that which remains when everything else has burned to ashes.
Thank you, Sharon. That's an apt one to end on. Yes. Hopeful news, hopeful mood. So, well, I again wanted to thank Sharon Vander, and all the contributors to this wonderful anthology. I do hope that you'll pick it up from Amazon or from the press or from one of the bookstores in Las Vegas. And Jules, I think, has put the link in the chat again. So anyway, if folks wanted to unmute and give a round of applause to the readers, we would all appreciate that.
Thank you, everybody, again.
Yeah. And
Nice one.
And I'll put the link in the recording notes. And thank you, Sharon. Thank you, all of the readers.
Oh, thank you. Thank you again. I'm going to repeat myself for this opportunity. It's always good to share the work that you've done and have it read and appreciated. And we can't say enough how much we appreciate this opportunity to do this. And this is a wonderful venue. I had not heard about you all until Bill introduced us to the concept. And I think you're doing a beautiful thing. And I admire
Thanks
you.
for the invitation.
Oh, you're welcome.
And one of the nice things about Zoom is, that it's really helped people kind of bridge the geographical barriers.
Yeah.
And we've had people from all over the world at various times, and so it's a nice. And even though Las Vegas and Albuquerque or Placitas are not that far apart, it's all relative, right? You might know what's going on in Santa Fe or in Taos, but not what's going on in Albuquerque and that kind of thing. So the Zoom helps. Yeah, there's still something to be said for face to face or in the same space, but it's the next best thing. Yeah. Well, great. Thanks, everybody. And we're going to continue with the open mic again for one poem per person.